OT. So, like I said, guys, I've been purchasing that little bit more equipment. What I'm going to do in this episode is talk to you about the equipment that I have bought, but also give some thoughts and feelings on some of this equipment that I've used over the years, and talk about the consumable nature of tools in a whole. So, let's get on with it. So, as you can tell, I am heavily invested in Stihl. There is a bias towards Stihl because that's what I've got. That's what I use. I've used Ego and I've also used other battery platforms, but not for gardening tools per se. Just Ego in the gardening world. That's worthy of a separate video in all fairness, but I can tell you my thoughts and experiences with Ego. I've had no problems with the batteries. I've had no problems with the tool, as in any mechanical wear. Yes, it frustrates me to high end, that mower. It is a good mower when it works, but as in when it's not wet. As soon as it's wet, awful. But by and large, I do like the Ego mower. So that's the Ego review, done and dusted. So at this point in time, I'm going to post a link to the little blurb from Stihl. Stihl have got a deal on. I'm not here to plug Stihl or anything like that. A lot of people are going battery and a lot of people are looking to go to battery. The batteries are the most expensive thing. Once you've got a good stock of batteries, you're sort of on easy street because you can just buy tool only or body only. At the moment, Stihl have got a deal that if you buy 2 AP500S batteries, you get a third one free. Now, I went to my local dealers. One of them was doing it, one of them wasn't. Online, some people advertise it, as in some companies. So, not a plug again, I bought mine from Radmore and Tucker. They had a big sign up on, Stihl page. Buy 2 AP, get one free. And, you just add 2 to the basket, they send you one free. Other companies, whether they forgot that or they will do that, or it's a bit sneaky, didn't. So, and again, I'm not a skinflint. I spend money when I need to spend money, and if I can save money, I will save money. Radmore and Tucker I found were the cheapest, but I did a quick look. Maybe there'll be somebody out there that's a few pound, a few pence, or loads more. Let me know in the comments. I ordered them. I had an email to say that I think the earmuffs were running out of stock or they were behind stock, and I had an email saying when they'll be in stock. I couldn't fault the service. Again, it's not a plug, but I speak as I find. So, 2 AP batteries for, 3 AP batteries for the same price as 2. So buy 2, get 1 free. I think that's a good price. I have got it next to the AP300 battery, as you can see. They are pretty much the same size. Somebody said to me that they're a lot heavier, as in these are a lot heavier, the 500s. I weighed them and the 500s are indeed heavier, but they're only heavier by a few 100 grams. I can put up with that. I'm a big boy, swab. So I can put up with that. I can, deal with that extra. My plan for these batteries, so I'm looking ahead and I'm planning ahead as much as I can. I've got my operation at the end of the year. Me and the missus are going to start looking at properties, looking at getting a house together basically next year. So as such, my finances next year could be hopefully for the better, tied up because we're looking for somewhere. Or if something happens with the op, this is the 0.1%, then I might be limited, or I might, not be able to spend as much next year on kit because I might not be able to work as much. I know that's morbid, but again, you've got to plan just in case. So, like I said, and it's a hernia op, by the way. I'm not having a fucking transition or a lobotomy. But I tell everybody I'm having realignment surgery because I'm an idiot and I think it's a funny thing to say. So, like I said, the AP500Ss, at the moment, these are the best batteries still do, the biggest performing ones. They've got the most duty cycles. So I've got 5 AP300 batteries, trucker tan. That is the most British tan you've ever seen. I just need it to go pink and then I'm fully, Anyway, so I've got 5 AP300 batteries at this point in time. I've got one OG black one, which I bought 5 or 6 years ago. and I've got 4 of the orange ones. They're the 300s, they aren't the 300Ss. They have been, touch wood, absolutely rock solid. I have noticed, I don't know if it is real or not, I think a couple of them have got a bit of deterioration, as in they don't seem to last as long. I've noticed that they have a glitch where I will go and I will check the battery percentage and it'll be full, and I'll put it in a tool and I'll use it and it'll just drop straight down to 1. But then I try and pinpoint it, and then actually it's not that battery. So whether it's a glitch in the matrix or what, I don't know. Or I keep missing it and I have got one done battery. The black one, as I said, that's had the most use. I think that I wouldn't say it's knackered. I'd say it's probably got 80% to its max battery. That's my conservative guess. So the plan is for these 500s, these are going to be the new workhorse. These batteries are what is going to be going into all of my big tools. So the blower, the strimmer and the hedge trimmer. These are the ones that are going to basically be used for them tools, because they're the ones that they need the maximum power. They need, you know, as much current, as much electric as possible, and also they're what I use the most of. So it makes sense for me to use these. I've got a warranty with them. I think it's either a year or 2 year on these, so I've got a warranty. So as such, I want to get these, and I don't want to put as much wear. I want to put my wear and tear that I normally use onto these batteries to hopefully, again, in theory, I should have a year or 2 years of no problems. And I'll be honest with you, I've had 5 or 6 years with the black one and 3 or 4 years of that with no problems. Again, I'm speaking as I'm finding. I'm not, you know, sucking up to Stihl here. I can only speak as I find. So if it is that you do fancy them, I will leave a link to the Stihl page. I won't leave a link to any other places, because it's up to you. I suggested Radmore and Tucker because I had a good experience with them, but you might find that your local dealer or another online dealer is cheaper, better and more efficient. It's up to you guys. So they're the AP500s. That's something that I've wanted, and also as well, Stihl are developing bigger and better tools all the time. They've just put a video out for their backpack battery blowers. That's recommended. It runs off 2 AP500S batteries. So in theory, I've got the batteries. They will run off of 300s, but you know, using a blower, you want as much power as possible. So again, I'm future proofing here. I am buying this stuff to hopefully that if I need it, you know, so if I decide to, so like I said with the Ego mower, at some point the mower's going to go or the batteries are going to go, and if one or the other goes, I won't be replacing it. I'd like, if I can, to stick with the Stihl, and I'd like to get one of their new Stihl mowers, their cordless ones. I don't want a commercial one, it's £2,000, I'll be honest with you. No. You know, I want to have a look at their homeowner grade ones, because I like an electric mower for getting up and down those properties that have got steps or they're a bit of a ball ache to get into. I like it. I can pick it up. I can, you know, not throw it, but you know what I mean. It gets in and out of the van easy. So I am going to do a review, but I'm not. I'm going to give an opinions-based video here. So these are the Stihl Dynamic BT, I think they are. They're the Stihl cordless headsets. Now, I've had these for... I used to own an IsoTunes headset, and I've since bought these. Now, I'm going to leave a review. It's from a carpenter, actually. It's from a YouTube carpenter called Rag and Bone Brown. And he did a in-depth review of this versus the IsoTunes, because in my opinion, they're the only two brands that are out there. There is others, but, you know, and he actually... I won't tell you what he said, but check out his video. But he did a review on the both of them. I really like these. I think that they are comfy. I wear them all day. Obviously not all day, but I wear them whenever I'm working. I use this and these, and I'll talk about them in a little bit. I really like them. The IsoTunes, I had a pair, were good. but mandatory or by law or whatever they did, they decided to limit how much noise comes out of them. So as such, a lot of people complained about the ISO tunes that they did block noise, but they were quiet, very, very quiet. And that's what I thought. I found for music it was okay, but podcasts I was struggling, especially if whenever they did a podcast it was filmed low or in a noisy situation. I find with these Stihl headphones that there is more dynamic where you can hear the finer details more. I predominantly listen to music and podcasts, and I find podcasts very, very good. Criticisms, the build quality I suppose is what it is, but I've had these for a long time, and as such I have dropped them a lot. So plastic broken there, that's cracked, that's got bits missing off it, it comes out, this comes out, the ear muff inside, that's cracked, and as you sort of move it, it's actually cracking all the way. My biggest problem with these, I don't think they've addressed it in that, but it'll be interesting, is that button there, as you go to engage it, if you push it that little bit hard, or you get your nail in there, and not advertently but inadvertently, you can actually knock that out of position. I've actually had to end up stripping all of this down to click it back into place. So as you can imagine, it is frustrating. They are expensive, but they are worth it. In my opinion, I don't like gardening to the noises and the voices in my head. But you know what I mean. I don't know how gardeners can do it in silence, if I'm being honest with you. I'm not saying, you're a psychopath for it. I probably am, because I listen to podcasts about true crime and murders and shit. But for me, I've got to have something to distract me. I can see it, I was speaking to a chap and he said he doesn't wear, he wears ear protection when he's on the tools, but he says, when he's weeding and hoeing and tidying up, he loves hearing the birds and all that. And also as well, situational awareness. When I've got these on, I'm in my own world, and I've had it in the past where customers have crept up behind me, and I just tell them, look, when you see these on my head, I can't hear a thing. I'm in my own world. So if you want me, get in my eyesight and wave at me, or if I'm using a power tool, I'm using these, just give me a call. These will accept a Bluetooth phone call, so if somebody rings up, they will receive it. The only problem with them, the ISO tunes are good. These do not accept Siri. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with that bloke. When he works, he's fantastic. But the old ISO tunes, you could press a button and you can ask it to do stuff. You can ask him to call people, and he will. With these, you haven't. But again, I've had people with call quality. I've had people where they've rung up and they've said, I can't hear you. It's too crackly, it's too noisy. But then I've had people where they say it's perfect. So maybe it's my phone, maybe it's these, because they're hooped, let's face it. Who knows? But like I said, I have bought another set. These are now going to be the old set. These are going to go into the lockup, and we're going to crack on with these ones instead. As I said, I think when you look at the build, it's like, I'm just touching that there. That is a lot more thicker than what that one is, but then that's been on my head for, a few years. And I'll be honest with you, it's nice to have it's crazy to think, actually. Yeah, it's just wear and tear. These block, I've just put them on then, and these block out so much more noise than they do. So, as you can tell. But no, I do like them, if I'm being honest with you. They are good, they are worth it. They are expensive, but at the end of the day, and this is what I can and can't understand, you've only got one pair of ears, but also it's sanity. I love my job, I really do. I love nothing more than mowing lawns and tidying up. I've got my headphones in, I've got, like I said, podcasts, whether it's a gritty true crime story or an episode of Acceptable in the 80s that just has me howling with laughter. There's been times where I've listened to podcasts and I've been laughing that much that I've almost been doubled over, and people have seen me and they probably think I'm nuts because I'm just laughing so hard. And for me, you get these, you've got to get joy where you can, haven't you? So what I'm going to do now is talk about, so as I said, that's a review in air quotes. What I'm going to do in this bit now is talk about the consumable nature of tools. Now, there's that all sort of mention, buy once, cry once. For me, personally, I try and invest in the best possible kit that I can. For me, I've always said that I buy the best that I can afford. It's not a flex. It's nothing like that. It's just, for me, I am using my tools all day, every day. I want the best ones that I can in my hands. But as such, even if you buy good quality equipment, it still breaks, it still wears out. And this is what brings me on to the Wolf Garden stuff. Now, I do like it. It's so better. You've got one tool, one handle, and you've got multiple spares. You can just click them on. Absolute game changer. I think the bloke who invented it, Mr. Wolf Garden, absolutely killer idea. It's one of them where you think, why doesn't every tool have it? Why does everybody have a van full of individual tools and not just have a couple of poles and a bucket of these? My gripe with him, and as I said, I speak as I find. Now, I understand that these wear out, so I've just bought this. I need to buy some more replacement heads. They're about £15 for two, so they are pricey, but they do wear out. Now, I'm not knocking. This is designed to wear out. But the Dutch hoe, the plastic rake, the plastic brush, I use a couple of them a year. I either lose a Dutch hoe or I wear one out a year. So it's an expense. But then again, I am using them to scrape things off blocks or walls or, scraping it on concrete. So it is going to wear down. But it's part and parcel of it. Strimmer heads, I probably use one a year. Darlac leaf grabbers, I'll probably use a pair a year. Because, I'm not rough with my stuff, but I use it. I'll pick up too much with it. I'll use it to push bins down. Safety glasses. So I really, really like these Ego safety glasses. Now, I'll show you what I do to them. So I really, really like them. Now, I bought these are $9.99 from a dealer. I bought every single pair that he had. Yeah, I think he had 8 pairs, something like that. I said, Luke, how much for all of them? And he did them for £8 a pair. I think for safety wear, it's a fit. And like I said, you only get 2 eyes, So look after yourself. So these, for that much, I think's a bargain. Now, what I do with them is I get a standard pair. And this is probably really stupid, but this little rubber bit, I just pull it off, and then it's a little bit closer, and then what it is when it sits on your face, this plastic trim here is so much thinner because you've lost that little thick bit there, and then when you put your headphones on, it forms a really tight seal because you haven't got that bit of rubber opening an entry up for sound to come in. Now, I'd like to say it's so no harmful or extra loud noises get into my ears, and it's causing me to lose my hearing. No, it's so I can listen to my podcast better or my music better. But you get what I mean. Now, I wear these all day. That doesn't hurt my ear or my head. Maybe my brain's adapted to it. But for me, I find that perfectly comfortable. I've tried other safety glasses like the Makita ones, the Milwaukee ones. There's nothing wrong with them, but it's always that rubber bit, and what it does is it lets sound in. I've tried with the others to take, you can't, they glue them on. With Ego, they either forget or they don't need to, and as I say, I just pull it off, throw them away. And for me, again, it's a consumable. I will get 3 months, 2 months out of this, and what ends up happening is they get thrown on top of the dash. What I used to do was keep them in old socks. So if a pair of socks were on the way out, I would put my safety glasses into a pair of socks. because if you go on the dash or they end up on the seat, stuff gets put on them, they end up falling off, they end up getting scratched basically. And the key with PPE is you've got to want to wear it. If it's uncomfortable, it's heavy, makes your head sweat, makes you look a bit funny so people down the road laugh at you, you won't wear it. But if it's comfortable, I will wear it. I'm not saying I'm not going to wear chunky safety glasses because I can't hear my podcast. I will. But, sometimes, like I said, you only get 2 eyes and you get 2 ears. You've got to look after them. So, for me, these are consumables. As I said, I reckon I go through 4 pairs a year. What I actually do is once they get knackered, so what ends up happening with these glasses is this is the thin part, and you drop it, but that's the thin part, and what ends up happening is they snap there, or the bridge that comes off, or the lens just gets scratched up. So again, what I tend to do is throw them in a bucket, and I will go at the end of the year and I'll make a pair out of 3 bad pairs. So like I said, so I've got basically enough glasses to last me for a couple of seasons now. I need to get some more Wolfgarten heads, but I just wanted to illustrate to you that things don't last forever in this industry. As I said, I invested my money wisely in tools, so touch wood, I've had no problems with the battery gear, as in the batteries themselves. I've had problems with the tools, but I think you have problems with every tool. But when you see other companies, what people have problems with them, sometimes I think I'm glad I invested in them. So like I said, buy the best that you can. Don't go off, to me that's not a review, that's an opinion. That's my luck with it. But don't underestimate, because to me, this forms part of my running costs for my business. This is a one-off hit that once I've bought it, these are going to last me hopefully for another 4 years. The AP batteries that I've got, they're going to still be in rotation, but again, they should keep chugging along. They're not going to have as much wear on them, but they're going to be chugging along nicely. These are going to be, they're going to be the whipping boy basically. They're going to be the ones that use the most. But if you're spending £8 a pair of glasses, say a tenner to make my life easier, 40 quid a year, isn't it? These are £15 for 2, depending on wear and tear. You'll go through, say, 2 a year. Then you're up to 55. Pair of Dorlat leaf grabbers, £20, 85. And then miscellaneous stuff. And as daft as it sounds, you can get up to a couple £100 just on the small wear and tear items, and that's not even factoring in loss, or misplacing them, or worst case, theft. Things do go missing, unfortunately. I found my tools in my customers' sheds in the past, and it's always been under the guise of I thought it was my husband's, whether it's not or not. Don't get me wrong, they've always said, oh, I'm ever so sorry, but again, so like I said, don't underestimate this is one of the things, the running cost of business is high enough as it is, so do what you can to save when you can. I find that there's gimmicky tools out there that, you see them on TikTok and Instagram Reels and YouTube Short, like these game changer tools. I did a review for a Seika mini chainsaw, and again, speak as you find, it worked fine out of the box. It worked brilliant, it cut wood, but once the chain got blunt, once the battery got worn in that little bit, once you used it for a good amount of time, it just wasn't built to last. But I'm not saying cheap tools are rubbish. I bought those cheap Makita clone secateurs, and I've dropped them. They've been dropped millions of times. They've cut thick stuff that they shouldn't be cutting, and they keep chugging along, and they were a cheap tool. They were like sub 30, 40 quid. They were nothing really. So like I said, guys, I hope this video helps. As I said, we've looked at some new tools, and we'll go from there, guys. So have a good day. As usual, keep on gardening.